Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free French ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to Can Do French by FrenchPod101.com.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Lia Mercier. Hi everyone, I'm Lia Mercier. In this lesson, you learn how to introduce yourself in French.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to France. Hugues Henry, a passenger sitting next to him, introduces himself by saying, "Hi, my name is Hugues. Nice to meet you."
Bonjour, je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté.
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, both Hugues and Mark use only their first names. Ready?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté.
Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté.
Once more with the English translation.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté.
Hi, my name is Hugues. Nice to meet you.
Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté.
My name is Mark. Nice to meet you.
Let's take a closer look at Mark's response.
Do you remember how Mark Lee introduces himself? My name is Mark. Nice to meet you.
Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté.
Let's start with the expression.
Enchanté.
This literally means enchanted, but it translates as nice to meet you.
Enchanté. Enchanté.
Do you remember how Mark Lee says, "My name is Mark"?
Je m'appelle Marc.
First is
Je.
I.
Je. Je.
Next is,
M'appelle.
which translates as call myself.
M'appelle. M'appelle.
This starts with
Me.
me.
Me. Me.
Next is
Appelle.
call, as in I call.
Appelle. Appelle. Appelle.
Is from the verb,
Appeler.
meaning to call.
Appeler. Me.
Is contracted with
Appelle.
to form.
M'appelle.
Together,
Je m'appelle.
literally means I myself call, but it translates as my name is.
Je m'appelle.
Next is the name
Marc.
Mark.
Marc. Marc.
Together it's
Je m'appelle Marc.
my name is Mark.
Je m'appelle Marc.
The pattern is
Je m'appelle name.
my name is name.
Je m'appelle name.
To use this pattern, simply replace the name placeholder with your name. Imagine you're Karen. In French,
Karen. Karen. Karen.
say, my name is Karen. Ready?
Je m'appelle Karen.
My name is Karen.
Je m'appelle Karen.
In written French, the spelling of the expression enchanté will depend on the genders of a speaker. For male speakers, enchanté. For female speakers, enchanté. Note the additional E at the end of the word. The pronunciation of these two variations will be exactly the same.
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté. Je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté.
Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté. Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté.
Je m'appelle Karen. Enchantée. Je m'appelle Karen. Enchantée.
Je m'appelle Lia. Enchantée. Je m'appelle Lia. Enchantée.
Je suis Sadia, enchantée. Je suis Sadia, enchantée.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
She says,
Je suis Sadia, enchantée.
I'm Sadia. Nice to meet you.
Je suis Sadia, enchantée.
First is
Je,
I.
je
Next is
suis,
am.
suis, suis, suis.
Is from the verb,
Être,
meaning to be.
être.
Next is the name,
Sadia,
Sadia.
Sadia, Sadia.
Altogether,
Je suis Sadia.
I am Sadia.
Je suis Sadia.
The pattern is,
Je suis name.
I am name.
Je suis name.
You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern,
Je m'appelle name.
my name is name.
Je m'appelle name.
Let's review the key vocabulary.
Bonjour.
Hi,
Bonjour. Bonjour. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say I? Je. Je. And how to say I call myself? Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle. Do you remember how Mark says, My name is Mark? Je m'appelle Marc. Je m'appelle Marc. Do you remember how to say, Nice to meet you? Enchanté. Enchanté. Do you remember how Mark says, My name is Mark. Nice to meet you.
Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté.
Je m'appelle Marc. Enchanté. Do you remember how Hugues says hi? Bonjour. Bonjour. Do you remember how Hugues says, Hi, my name is Hugues. Nice to meet you.
Bonjour. Je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Hugues. Enchanté.
Welcome to Can Do French by FrenchPod101.com.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Lia Mercier. Hi everyone, I'm Lia Mercier. In this lesson, you'll learn how to tell someone where you are from in French.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to France. Hugues Henry, a passenger sitting next to him, asks, "Where are you from?"
D'où venez-vous?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use formal French. Ready?
D'où venez-vous?
Je viens de New York.
Once more with the English translation.
D'où venez-vous?
Where are you from?
Je viens de New York.
I'm from New York.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Hugues Henry asks, "Where are you from?"
D'où venez-vous?
First is
D'où?
from where.
D'où?
This starts with
De.
which translates as from in this context.
De. De.
Next is
Où?
meaning where.
Où? Où? De.
Is contracted with
Où?
to form.
D'où?
Next is
Venez.
come, as in you come.
Venez. Venez. Venez.
Is from the verb
Venir.
meaning to come.
Venir.
After this is
Vous.
which is literally the plural form of you, as in you all. But it's also the formal way to address a single person, as is the case here.
Vous. Vous.
Together
Venez-vous.
translates as you come.
Venez-vous.
Altogether
D'où venez-vous?
literally means from where come you, but it translates as where are you from?
D'où venez-vous?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later in this lesson.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Mark Lee says, "I'm from New York"?
Je viens de New York.
First is
Je.
I.
Je.
Next is
Viens.
meaning come, as in I come.
Viens. Viens. Viens.
Is from the verb
Venir.
meaning to come.
Venir.
After this is
De.
which means from in this context.
De.
Last is the city,
New York.
New York.
New York. New York.
Altogether it's
Je viens de New York.
this literally means I come from New York, but can translate as I'm from New York.
Je viens de New York.
The pattern is
Je viens de city name.
I'm from city name.
Je viens de city name.
To use this pattern, simply replace the city name placeholder with the name of your hometown. Imagine you're from Sydney.
Sydney. Sydney. Sydney.
Say, I'm from Sydney. Ready?
Je viens de Sydney.
I'm from Sydney.
Je viens de Sydney. When talking about where you're from, de is used before feminine nouns. All cities are feminine in French, so when talking about your hometown or home city, use de. You can also use this pattern with countries. However, countries can be either masculine or feminine. If you use this pattern with a country name that's masculine, use du instead of de. For example, je viens de France. France, France, is feminine. Je viens du Japon. Japon, Japan, is masculine.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat, or speak along with the native speakers.
Je viens de New York. Je viens de New York.
Je viens de Nantes. Je viens de Nantes.
Je viens de Seattle. Je viens de Seattle.
Je viens de Londres. Je viens de Londres.
Je viens de Paris. Je viens de Paris.
Je suis australienne. Je suis australienne.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
She says,
Je suis australienne.
I'm Australian.
Je suis australienne.
First is
Je,
I.
je
Next is
suis,
am, as in I am.
suis, suis
Is from the verb,
être,
meaning to be.
être.
Together it's,
Je suis,
meaning I am.
je suis
After this is,
australienne,
meaning Australian.
australienne, australienne,
Note,
australienne.
is feminine. This pattern is,
Je suis nationality.
I'm nationality.
Je suis nationality.
In Mia Martin's case, she uses the feminine adjective
Australienne.
to describe herself.
Je suis australienne.
In the case of a male speaker from Australia, he would use a masculine adjective
Australien.
to describe himself.
Je suis australien.
I'm Australian.
Je suis australien.
You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern
Je viens de city name.
I'm from city name.
Je viens de city name.
Let's review the key vocabulary.
Nantes,
Nantes,
Nantes, Nantes. Seattle,
Seattle,
Seattle, Seattle. Londres,
London,
Londres, Londres. Paris,
Paris,
Paris, Paris.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say New York? New York. New York. And how to say from New York? De New York. De New York. Do you remember how to say I? Je. Do you remember how Mark Lee says, I'm from New York?
Je viens de New York.
Je viens de New York. Do you remember the formal way to say you? Vous. Vous. And how to say from where? D'où. D'où. Do you remember how Hugues Henry asks, where are you from?
D'où venez-vous?
D'où venez-vous? Do you remember how to say London? Londres. Londres. Do you remember how to say Seattle? Seattle. Seattle. Do you remember how to say Paris? Paris. Paris.
Welcome to Can Do French by FrenchPod101.com.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Lia Mercier. Hi everyone, I'm Lia Mercier. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your occupation in French.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to France. He asks the passenger sitting next to him, Hugues Henry, "Are you a student?"
Êtes-vous étudiant?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Hugues' response. The speakers in this conversation use formal French. Ready?
Êtes-vous étudiant?
Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur.
Once more with the English translation.
Êtes-vous étudiant?
Are you a student?
Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur.
No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Mark asks, "Are you a student?"
Êtes-vous étudiant?
First is
Être.
are, as in, are you?
Être. Être. Être.
Is from the verb,
Être.
meaning to be.
Être.
After this is
Vous.
the plural form of you, as in you all. But here it's the formal way to address a single person.
Vous. Vous.
Together,
Êtes-vous?
are you, when addressing a single person.
Êtes-vous?
Last is the word
Étudiant.
student.
Étudiant. Étudiant.
In French, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Étudiant.
Is masculine singular. Altogether, it's
Êtes-vous étudiant?
are you a student?
Êtes-vous étudiant?
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Hugues says, "No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor"?
Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur.
First is
Non.
no.
Non. Non.
It answers Mark's yes or no question. Are you a student?
Êtes-vous étudiant?
After this, Oog specifies that he's not a student.
Je ne suis pas étudiant.
I'm not a student.
Je ne suis pas étudiant.
First is
Je,
I.
je
After this is
ne suis pas,
meaning am not.
ne suis pas.
Let's start with
Suis,
meaning am, as in I am.
suis, suis.
Is from the verb
Être,
meaning to be.
être.
Before the verb is
Ne.
after the verb is
Pas.
together
Ne pas.
means not.
Ne pas.
Altogether it's
Je ne suis pas.
I am not.
Je ne suis pas.
Next is
Étudiant.
student.
Étudiant.
Altogether,
Je ne suis pas étudiant.
I'm not a student.
Je ne suis pas étudiant.
Oog then tells Mark his actual occupation.
Je suis investisseur.
I'm an investor.
Je suis investisseur.
First is
Je.
Next is
Suis.
am, as in I am.
Suis.
Last is
Investisseur.
investor.
Investisseur. Investisseur.
The word
Investisseur.
is a masculine singular noun. Together,
Je suis investisseur.
I'm an investor.
Je suis investisseur.
Altogether,
Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur.
no, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur.
The pattern is
Non, je ne suis pas occupation. Je suis actual occupation.
no, I'm not occupation. I'm actual occupation.
Non, je ne suis pas occupation. Je suis actual occupation.
Imagine you're Emma Auge, a student. The word for female student is
Étudiante. Étudiante. Étudiante.
Ook asks if you're a teacher. The word for a female teacher is
Professeur. Professeur. Professeur.
say, no, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student. Ready?
Non, je ne suis pas professeur, je suis étudiante.
No, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student.
Non, je ne suis pas professeur, je suis étudiante.
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur. Non, je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur.
Non, je ne suis pas professeur, je suis étudiante. Non, je ne suis pas professeur, je suis étudiante.
Non, je ne suis pas professeur. Je suis ingénieur. Non, je ne suis pas professeur. Je suis ingénieur.
Non, je ne suis pas infirmière, je suis médecin. Non, je ne suis pas infirmière, je suis médecin.
Non, je ne suis pas étudiante. Je suis professeur. Non, je ne suis pas étudiante. Je suis professeur.
Non, je suis barista. Non, je suis barista.
Did you notice how the last speaker omits part of the response?
Non, je suis barista.
No, I'm a barista.
Non, je suis barista.
When directly responding to someone's question, it's often possible to omit part of the response. Here, by simply answering,
Non,
no, there's no need to say,
je ne suis pas étudiant.
I'm not a student. The pattern is,
Non, je suis actual occupation.
no, I'm actual occupation.
Non, je suis actual occupation.
You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern.
Non, je ne suis pas occupation. Je suis actual occupation.
No, I'm not occupation. I'm actual occupation.
Non, je ne suis pas occupation. Je suis actual occupation.
Let's review the key vocabulary. Student,
Étudiant. Étudiant. Étudiante. Étudiante.
teacher,
Professeur. 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 Professeur.
engineer,
Ingénieur. 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 Ingénieur.
nurse,
Infirmier. Infirmier. Infirmière. Infirmière. Médecin.
doctor,
Médecin. Médecin. Barista.
barista,
Barista. Barista.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the word for a male investor? Investisseur. Investisseur. And how to say I? Je. Je. Do you remember how Hugues says, I'm an investor? Je suis investisseur. Je suis investisseur. Do you remember the word for a male student? Étudiant. Étudiant. Do you remember how Hugues says, I'm not a student? Je ne suis pas étudiant. Je ne suis pas étudiant. Do you remember how Hugues Henry says, I'm not a student, I'm an investor?
Je ne suis pas étudiant, je suis investisseur.
Je ne suis pas étudiant. Je suis investisseur. Do you remember the formal way to say you? Vous. Vous. Do you remember how Mark Lee asks, Are you a student? Remember, Mark uses formal French.
Êtes-vous étudiant?
Êtes-vous étudiant? Do you remember the word for a female student? Étudiante. Étudiante. And the word for a male teacher? Professeur. Professeur. Do you remember the word for a female teacher? Professeur. Professeur. Do you remember the word for a male engineer? Ingénieur. Ingénieur.
Welcome to Can Do French by FrenchPod101.com.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Lia Mercier. Hi everyone, I'm Lia Mercier. In this lesson, you learn how to give your phone number.
This is Mark Lee, and he's at City Hall registering his address. The civil servant who is helping him says, "Your phone number, please."
Votre numéro de téléphone, s'il vous plaît.
Listen to the conversation and focus on the response. Note, the civil servant in this conversation uses formal French. Ready?
Votre numéro de téléphone, s'il vous plaît.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 06 00 34 57 00.
Once more with the English translation.
Votre numéro de téléphone, s'il vous plaît.
Your phone number, please.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 06 00 34 57 00.
My phone number is 06 00 34 57 00.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how the civil servant says, "Your phone number, please"?
Votre numéro de téléphone, s'il vous plaît.
Let's start with
Numéro de téléphone.
meaning phone number.
Numéro de téléphone.
First is
Numéro.
number.
Numéro. Numéro.
In French, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Numéro.
Is masculine and singular. A fact that determines the form of other words in the sentence. Next is
De.
of in this context.
De.
Last is
Téléphone.
phone.
Téléphone. Téléphone.
Note.
Téléphone.
Translates as telephone or phone. We'll use the abbreviated version, phone, as this will include various kinds of phones, including mobile phones, landlines, and so forth. Together, it's
Numéro de téléphone.
This literally means number of telephone, or telephone's number, but it translates as telephone number or phone number.
Numéro de téléphone.
Before this is
Votre.
meaning your in this formal context.
Votre. Votre.
Note.
Votre.
Fundamentally means your when referring to more than one person, but it's also a formal way to say your when speaking to someone directly using formal French. Now, you might be more familiar with
Ton.
an informal word for your, as in
Ton numéro de téléphone.
your phone number. As this is a city office setting, the formal form
Votre.
is more appropriate. Altogether,
Votre numéro de téléphone.
your phone number.
Votre numéro de téléphone.
Last is,
S'il vous plaît.
meaning please.
S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît.
Altogether, it's
Votre numéro de téléphone, s'il vous plaît.
your phone number, please.
Votre numéro de téléphone, s'il vous plaît.
Remember this request. You'll hear it again later.
Let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember Mark's response? My phone number is 0600345700.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 06 00 34 57 00.
Do you remember the phrase for phone number?
Numéro de téléphone.
Phone number.
Numéro de téléphone.
Before this is the word
Mon.
my.
Mon. Mon.
In this sentence,
Mon.
is masculine and singular to agree with.
Numéro.
Altogether, it's
Mon numéro de téléphone.
my phone number.
Mon numéro de téléphone.
Next is
Est.
is, as in my phone number is.
Est. Est. Est.
Is from the verb
Être.
meaning to be.
Être.
Together, it's
Mon numéro de téléphone est.
my phone number is.
Mon numéro de téléphone est.
Next is
Le.
think of it like the in English.
Le. Le.
Here
Le.
is also masculine singular to agree with.
Numéro.
Note, in this sentence, the article
Le.
does not have a corresponding English translation. Next is Mark's phone number.
06 00 34 57 00. 06 00 34 57 00.
Note how Mark says his phone number. When giving your number in French, include a slight pause after each group of two numbers. Altogether, it's
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 06 00 34 57 00.
my phone number is 06 00 34 5700.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 06 00 34 57 00.
The pattern is
Mon numéro de téléphone est le phone number.
my phone number is phone number.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le phone number.
To use this pattern, simply replace the phone number placeholder with your phone number. Imagine your phone number is 0011223344.
0 0 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 0 0 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4.
Say, my phone number is 0011223344. Ready?
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 00 11 22 33 44.
My phone number is 0011223344.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 0011 22 33 44.
In France, all numbers start with 0, with the exception of emergency services.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat, or speak along with the native speakers.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 06 00 34 57 00.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 0011 22 33 44.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 00 99 88 77 66.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le 07 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2.
00 01 10 10 02. Did you notice how I omitted mon numéro de téléphone est le 00 01 10 10 02.
0001101002. When directly responding to a request, it's often possible to omit part of the response. Here, by simply giving your phone number, there's no need to say,
Mon numéro de téléphone est le.
My phone number is. The pattern is,
Phone number.
you should be aware of this shortcut, but for this lesson, we'll use the sentence pattern.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le. Phone number.
My phone number is phone number.
Mon numéro de téléphone est le. Phone number.
Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.